when I saw this post on Joseph Parker's Instagram page with paint and a little brush, I never in a million years thought that it was another unique, very creative call out for a big fight. This time, he called out Anthony Joshua for a rematch with Ed Sheeran, Lego, and oh my god, I found this so funny when I looked at it, that he actually had a Lego animation, I guess, of him and Anthony Joshua squaring off. It was so damn funny. And this again made me think kind of, huh? Really? This is how he's calling him out? But hey, I guess anything goes. And he is calling for the fight that I think many people want to see. I know a lot of people don't like the first fight, and I'll get onto that in a second. Joseph Parker is calling for the fight, which he should. He, again, is ranked number 4, and he's calling out the only guy ranked ahead of him who is available. I've mentioned that it's frustrating that despite being number 4 in the world, Joseph Parker is kind of left without an opponent at the moment. Therefore, a rematch with Dillian Whyte or Joe Joyce makes sense. And if neither of them take the fight, and if Joshua is held out for a different fight, Joseph Parker's career, I mean, I don't want to get negative here, but it's going to be quite frustrating moving forward. But let's wait and see how this plays out. In terms of a rematch between him and Joshua, rankings-wise, it does make sense. And going back to that first fight, the biggest problem in that fight was the horrible referee. I mean, that guy was absolutely atrocious. The way that he broke the fighters up, I said this since the day the fight happened, it looked like he was refereeing a fight between two kids in the playground. The way he was putting his hand on both of their heads, the way he was waving his finger saying, no, 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 we don't do that. I mean, that's a horrible accent, but you get what I'm saying. He could not have been more terrible than he was that night, and I really appreciated the Showtime commentary with Mauro Ranallo and Al Bernstein and Paulie Malignaggi calling out how terrible this guy was throughout the fight. And Al Bernstein said at one point, this is one of the worst cases of refereeing I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, Mauro Ranallo was saying this guy's trying to create his own headlines, which is exactly what happened. With a different referee, would the fight have turned out better? Most likely. It would have been very cautious, but we really were robbed of a potentially great fight that night. The referee certainly suited Anthony Joshua's game plan more because Parker couldn't fight on the inside, but on the other hand, Joseph Parker fought the wrong game plan. He was way too cautious. I've talked about Joseph Parker before because, like I've said in other videos, I was ringside for his second professional fight. I was actually filming it, and when I filmed his entrance to the ring, he gave me a fist bump before he walked out, which was mind-blowing to me, and he could not have been a nicer human being when I interviewed him afterwards. Aside from that, he's just a very, very good, genuine person. One thing that's more than clear is that Kevin Barry may have been the right guy to help him beat Andy Ruiz, because regardless of how that fight wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, Joseph Parker fought the right game plan, and the way he pulled it off against Andy Ruiz, coming from behind when he lost the majority of the early rounds, in my opinion, was very, very impressive. I was blown away by his performance in terms of his skill, and it worked, again, to a treat. But moving forward, when he had to switch up his styles, when he couldn't just rely on his athleticism, he had to get out there and be aggressive, I just felt Kevin Barry was the wrong guy for him. New Zealanders can let me know in the comments if you guys know more than I do, but I was always really surprised that Joseph Parker, who was such a nice, genuine human being, who did not have a rough background, who was brought up by two very committed parents, why he was picked up by a guy who had such a shady history in Kevin Barry. I mean, Kevin Barry is just a very unlikable, shady character. And again, I was a kid when he was going through the lawsuit with David Tua. There were a lot of people in my household and friends of my parents and family who knew what was going on more than me, and I can tell you not one of them sided with Kevin Barry and Martin Pugh, the other scumbag who, again, messed around with David Tua's finances. But that's not my business. I was just baffled as to why Joseph Parker ended up with a guy like that in his corner. And whenever you saw Kevin Barry basically trying to talk for Joseph Parker and raise his voice and act like what Joseph Parker achieved was a reflection on him, not just as a trainer, but as a person, and that he could have the arrogance to speak Like, he almost ran the boxing scene in New Zealand, was just mind-blowing. I just thought, what is Joseph Parker doing with this guy? And I am no fan of Eugene Berriman. Trust me, I got my issues with that guy as well. Not because of Eugene Berriman being a shady character, but he's just a dishonest character. One thing I can definitely agree with is that Eugene Berriman was a far more genuine character for a guy like Joseph Parker than Kevin Barry. So, I say all that to say this. Joseph Parker is a lot better now than he was when he was with Kevin Barry. He's with a guy who is a calm, genuine, kind person like him and Andy Lee, but knows how to communicate better. You don't have an angry, outspoken, loud, obnoxious goof in Kevin Barry speaking for a soft, quiet person in Joseph Parker. He and Andy Lee are the same type of person, so they blend in well together. And Andy Lee is able to get a lot more out of Joseph because, again, they are far more similar in terms of types of human beings. So if Joseph Parker were to fight Anthony Joshua, it would be a really good fight. Who would win? Well, style-wise, it's always been challenging for both. I don't want to get too excited because I have a feeling the fight won't happen. I'm very interested to see where Joseph Parker goes from here. And, they do have a lot of respect for each other as fighters, but Joseph Parker, make no mistake, he would have a far better mindset now. And I know I'm going on about it, but I really would like to know from anybody in the comments why Kevin Barry was the guy to train Joseph Parker from such a young age. Because I've heard rumours, and I don't want to put them out there because it's none of my business, and I don't know if they're true or not. But given Kevin Barry's very shady history, I would not be shocked at all if they were true. Let me know what you guys think down below about this call out, and does anybody agree with me that Joseph Parker would have a better chance than he did back then? Because I certainly think he would. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.